Alright guys, welcome back to another episode here on Grow the Earth. Before we get started with our video today, I want to invite you to go and visit my other media pages. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're also on Rumble, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and I've also got a Facebook group. Now all these links are right here below me, and there are some things that if you're watching me on YouTube that you're not seeing if you're not visiting my other pages. Instagram, TikTok, and Rumble have all got extra videos that you're not seeing here. Also, if you are on Facebook, go join my Facebook page. We've got a bunch of different people there that can answer a bunch of questions for you. You know, you're able to actually have access to me directly to where you can ask me questions if you need to. And you can find all the information that you need to know to grow your garden better. So now let's get on with the video. Alright guys, today in the garden we're going to be planting our lettuce. Now there is something that we need to take into account when we're planting lettuce because we have to kind of plan out our planting space. And there's a reason that I say that, and that is because there are different types of lettuce. Now you can grow all of these high intensity, but there are certain types of lettuce that are better suited to be heads than others. All the lettuces I have here in my right hand are a leaf type lettuce. And you'll know that because on the package it says leaf lettuce. Now these are going to be lettuces that are going to be more adept to high intensity planting. And we'll get to what that is here in just a moment. And in my other hand here we have our heading type lettuces. And these are going to be ones that you're going to space a little further apart, and you're actually going to harvest the heads from. You're going to pull these plants out all at once. Now like I said, you can plant these high intensity and just harvest the leaves just as you would with the leaf lettuces, but we decided this year we weren't going to plant so much high intensity because we wanted to actually get some heads to share and to have for us. And that way we would be able to, it just makes it easier to package and handle and everything else. So on this end of the bed here, this is where we're going to do our higher intensity stuff. And what that amounts to is we're going to plant these seeds very, very close together. We're going to make a line just as we would for our carrots or our spinach or whatnot. And we're just simply going to sprinkle these seeds in that row. And as they come up, they will come up right next to each other. Now, the reason this works is because the plants will kind of be bunched together on one side, but we're going to give a little room on the opposite sides to where they can grow up and out away from each other. And this works perfectly fine. And when you go to harvest, you can either harvest from the leaves on the outside of the plant, or you can simply take a very, very sharp knife and come in and basically just cut the tops off of them and they will grow back. So this is a very good way to plant a lot of lettuce in a very small amount of space so you maximize your area. So just like most of our fall crops, these seeds are very, very small and they don't need to be planted very deep. And actually with lettuce itself, the thing that breaks the hibernation is sunlight. So you do want to cover these because you want the seeds to be moist, but it needs to be a very, very light layer. You don't want these down in the dirt. You don't want them, you know, really covered with a hard packed layer of anything because the sunlight is what is going to make these guys germinate. So we're going to use our trusty stick here. And we're going to make our lines for our high intensity area. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 different types of lettuces, and we're probably going to do a couple of rows of each one, and then we're going to move down that way, and that's where we're going to do our heading type of lettuces. So, of course, just like with the other ones, we're going to do a very light scribe in the ground to get our lines. We're going to kind of get away from it a little bit so that we can, you know, get them relatively straight. Now the key is when planting high intensity is we want to leave a good 3 or 4 inches on each side of our rows. That way our plants can spread out. Because if we plant them too close together, they will all kind of intermingle, and you will have a little bit of a competition between the different types of lettuces and things like that. Now, if you make these little lines a little too deep, it's not a big problem because we can just kind of push that soil back in and it'll give us a nice real fluffy layer to put our seeds in. So if you get a little heavy-handed and you make it, you hit a soft spot in your ground, it's not a very big deal. We can always put the soil back, just like with this. I had one spot that was really soft, one spot that was kind of hard, and it caused an issue with making my row there. 2, 4, 3, 4, 6. We'll start with these, and then we'll get on with something else. So we've got our, we're actually going to be planting a rosa leaf lettuce, a tango lettuce, a ruby red lettuce, an oak leaf lettuce, a Grand Rapids, and salad bowl. With these, as we sprinkle them, we're going to sprinkle them very, very close together. If you can't put too many seeds because either they're going to germinate and they'll just fill in your line a little bit tighter. So let's start with this guy here. Now, a lot of people will just simply take the whole package and just kind of sprinkle them. This just makes it a little easier for me to kind of regulate them a little bit better. But just a very, very thin layer of soil are we going to put over these seeds. And if you see some that are kind of poking up, I wouldn't worry about it too much. We're just going to, we just want to make sure that they've got a very light amount of soil to cover them with. And like I said, if you see some seeds poking up, don't worry about it too much. These guys, they will actually probably germinate on top of the ground just as easily as they will under the ground. As long as you keep your moisture level up. That's another thing. Of course, we've got to keep our ground moist just like with all of our other seeds because moisture is what's going to help them germinate also. So if you've seen someone plant a row of lettuce, you've seen them all. So we're going to plant the rest of this bed out here off camera. And we're actually going to move on down. I'm going to show you the spacing that we're going to do on our heading type lettuces to make sure that we're going to have, the space and the amount of room that we need to harvest our lettuce from. All right, so again, on this end of the bed, we're going to plant these lettuce seeds for heading. We're actually going to let these form a head, and then we're just going to pull them out to make them easier to give to people and to share at our giving boxes or whatever it may be. And we have a Buttercrutch Butterhead, Red Romaine, Paris Island, and a Freckles Romaine. And we have some other ones, but these are the ones that we're going to concentrate on today. Now, with our bed being roughly 3 foot, and I think these are probably closer to 32 inches, we're going to space these seeds about 6 inches apart, and they need to have about 12 inches between rows. So that means that the plants will have 6 inches on each side in order to grow out into. Now, with these, you do want to leave that space. You can't really crowd them if you want heads, because otherwise what will happen is it'll never form a head. It'll just kind of grow like a leaf lettuce. So we're going to mark out our bed here and we're going to plant. Now, when you plant these, I would suggest using, more than likely you're probably going to drop a couple of seeds into each hole anyway because they're so small. But we want to make sure that we're getting at least 2 in there just to make sure that we have germination. Again, with these, it's just going to be a very small divot. We're not going to plant this very deep at all, and we're going to just barely cover the seeds because, again, these need sunlight to germinate. I just want to stress that because If you plant these too deep, they're not going to show up. And actually, you'll end up having what I've seen in our other beds before, is seeds that were just a little too deep. What happens is once you come in there and you move the soil around, like when you're after you're through harvesting, and then you have lettuce come up in the bed when you necessarily don't want lettuce coming up in the bed. So we're going to, let's see, I'll just pick the Paris Island here, and we're going to pour these out into our hand because that way we'll get a better grasp on them. And we're only going to do a few of each one. We're not going to do a whole ton, but get very, very few here. I mean, these seeds, they really, they look almost like a grass seed. So if you can imagine how small that would be. And like I said, 6 inches apart. Roughly, we're not going to get too critical here, but we're not going to pull out a measuring tape here. We're just going to get a rough guesstimate. You know, just kind of make sure that we're giving enough room, because there's roughly a foot there. And again, not too deep. We just want to make a divot, and we're actually probably going to end up filling that in a little bit and then kind of moving the dirt in from the sides with it. So we have 2 seeds there. We're just going to barely cover those guys up. We don't want to get too heavy with covering them up. And you'll see the frustration with these of trying to get just 2 little bitty seeds in there. Now again, if you get, you know, 3 or so in there, don't be too worried about it. What will come up will come up, and we'll you may have to thin, but it's not going to be anything that's going to be tragic if you have 3 in a hole. It's not going to matter to the seeds really all that much, because like I said, these seeds will grow high intensity. They will grow very, very close together, but we're planting these a certain way so that we can get heads from them. Now again, when these come up, we want to pare them down just to 1 plant, and then we'll get our heads of lettuce, and we'll be able to share with others. In previous years, it was kind of more of a hassle to share with others because we'd have to come out and do our cut and come again, and we would basically come out and fill up grocery bags of each different type of lettuce, and then we'd have to take those inside and kind of divvy them out to whoever we were going to give to in the neighborhood, or if we were going to take it to a giving box or whatever it may be, we would have to kind of separate it out again and give it away. But with these, if we want to give these away, all we got to do is basically come out and pull the whole head out of the ground, chop the bottom off of it, and give it to somebody. So guys, you're gonna plant each successive variety the same way. We're gonna space them because they all pretty much have the same spacing and space requirements. So, and you know, depth requirements. Lettuce is lettuce. So a couple important points we're gonna go over here with is lettuce needs sunlight to germinate. So do not plant them very deep. Something my wife reminded me of, don't try and plant lettuce on a windy day, because if you're sprinkling seeds or if you put them in your hand, they will disappear very quickly, and then you might possibly have seed come up in another bed that you're not wanting to, or in your yard, or, you know, take your pick. Again, we need to keep these watered, and make sure that you have 6 inches between your plants and 12 inches between your rows, to allow those to have enough room to come out and to have enough space to form a head. So guys, as always, I ask you to pray over your family, pray over your garden, and have a great day.